In this video, I'm going to teach you how to build your own PC at home using jiji, while also clarifying the amount of money you may need for a budget build gaming computer. In the end, you will understand why you can't use any budget for a gaming PC. Before we go online to the website we are going to pick the parts from for the budget build, we need to first make a list of the components we are going to use. Let's start with the main circuit board of the computer that connects all the other hardware components together. As you can see, there are many types of motherboard you can choose for your PC build, meaning whatever amount you have in your pocket, you can get a mobile to buy. But you have to be careful of the one you choose, as it is going to determine the compatibility and upgradability of your PC, meaning every board is designed for a specific generation of processor which can be used on. So if you choose a motherboard that is designed for a 6th or 7th gen processor, you can't use any other generation on it like a 9th gen processor. And apart from the processor, every board has its own RAM and other requirements, meaning if it is designed to work with DDR3 RAM, you can't use a DDR4 RAM on it. Same the other way. With this basic knowledge about motherboard, make sure to choose well. For the processor, although a higher family with current generation which has a good speed is better, but in our case, we are choosing depending on our budget. So because most games depend highly on graphics card, that's why we are going to choose an Intel Core i5 processor to provide a balance between performance and affordability. So we will go for an i5 with decent generation and speed. The CPU is going to need its cooler for heat dissipation. The CPU cooler is needed because during the processor's operation, it generates heat, and excessive heat too can overheat the CPU, damaging it or even throttle the performance. The cooler comes in two types, the one which uses liquid in its operation and the one which uses air. In our case, we will choose the air cooling system. And for the RAM, which the processor stores all its data on for its operation. Although higher RAM size is better, but because of our budget, we are going to choose an 8GB RAM. This is also because most high-end games minimum requirement is 8GB. Let's move to the component which is going to house all the other components we are buying for the PC build. Some case or aesthetics enhance the appearance of the computer system, meaning some of the cases appearance is very pleasing to the eye. Apart from the protection it gives the other components, it just add beauty to your home decoration, while some are bulky, not attractive and look like a coffin. The one which is beautiful and the other one which is ugly all serve the same purpose. What the appearance depends on is your pocket. The most important thing is the size of the case, as it is going to determine how upgradable your PC will be in the future and the kind of component it's going to support. So you can choose from these 4 case sizes. The components made for the small form factor like the graphics card do not have the same performance capability as the one made for the mid tower or the 4 tower. And also the 4 tower has the advantage of housing any kind of computer component, whether big or small. In our case, we are going to choose the mid-size one. That's the one before the 4 tower. And because we are interested in building a system for gaming, this is where if you are going to increase your investment, to go for a quality graphics card will help a lot. I'm saying this because you are interested in choosing the best quality option available for your system, and this is also done taking your budget into consideration. And yes, I know this is a budget build, but please don't make it too much on your budget that you go for a cheap graphics card which you are going to suffer in the future. And because AMD Radeon RS 580 is a good budget graphics card with decent price, which has 8GB of video memory and the power consumption is not that high. And we are choosing because we don't want the processor we are going to choose to bottleneck it too much. And also we are going for the RGB fans to make the system attractive. Although you can choose to limit the amount you want to add to your system. More is better as you are adding it to protect your investment. It is the component which is going to dissipate all the heat from your system. Note that every component in your system when working generates heat, even the RAM. so a good ventilation will help protect your investment. Let's take the fan or air conditioning you use at your home for an example. You don't use it because the government said you have to have it. You bought it with the main goal of fighting stressful temperatures. Same way the fans are added to fight the heat built up in your system to prevent overheat. Let's now go to the components which most guys don't take serious but are mostly the cause of their headache. The power supply, if not chosen well, the probability of you setting yourself up for failure is very high. The power supply is needed because you can't connect your system straight to the power outlet in your home. Without it, your motherboard is going to fry. This is because electronic devices need direct current, which is stable than the AC current coming from your home socket outlet. Without the PSU, your system will get too much power, which it will not know what to do with it. Also note that this is not because AC current is bad. It has its advantages. It is the cheaper medium in which your national electricity supplier supplies every home with electricity. Although transmitting electricity to every part of the country is possible with DC, so that all your electronic components do not need a rectifier before it can be connected to the power straight or be charged like a mobile phone. It is not cheap as it demands high funding for it to be practiced. And your national electricity provider too is doing business for profit, not losses. So generating and transmitting the power in AC is better and cheaper in this case. Now you know all the components you need and why you need it. Let's go to the internet and start picking our parts. Starting from the mobile, we are going to choose the ASUS Z170AR motherboard. And before choosing the board, make sure to check the specs first. And as you can see, the ASUS Z170AR is an old motherboard which was made in 2015. We are choosing it because of its ATS form factor and supports 6 or 7 gen processor, and also with decent slot support specifications. Make sure not to close your motherboard specification site, as it is the specs there which is going to be used to buy your power supply unit. Now let's go to jiji and start buying the components one by one. Make sure to not skip now to understand the pricing of the components well. Now open jiji market. As you can see, I'm in Ghana, so I'm going to go to jiji Ghana. Don't skip because we are going to pick the parts one by one and sum it all to get the total so that you get a practical knowledge of the amount you can spend on a build. As you already know, we are going for a 6th gen processor. Let's first search for our ASUS Z170AR motherboard. As you can see after the search, there are only 2 available options, and even the 2, I think it's only one store, so let's choose one. Latkin Texport is selling theirs 1200 Ghana cedis, which is $116. So without wasting much time, let's add the amount to the list. We are going for a 6th gen processor. We are going to choose i5-6500 with the speed of 3.20 GHz. And because I don't want the video to take too long, we are going to choose only 2 options. A seller is selling both the motherboard and processor. Let's choose that one too. And as you can see, Mr. Ni is selling the processor we are looking for at the price of 580 Ghana cedis, which is $56. We are going for Mr. Ni's own because the one selling both the motherboard and processor is having ASUS Z170A, not AR, the one we are looking for. Let's go and update the list again. Now let's move to the cooler, which is going to dissipate all the heat from the CPU when working. As you can see, there are AIOs and other ones. We are going to choose one in our budget limit. We are going for 2 options again, and as you can see, the first store we first went, Latkin Texport, they are also having a cooler which is $450, which is $43, and the other shop too is selling its own $300, but we are going to choose $450 as the highest amount we are going to spend on the cooler. Now let's search for an 8GB DDR4 RAM, as it is the type the motherboard supports. As I said earlier, higher RAM size is better, but because of our budget we are going to go for 8GB of RAM, which is mostly the minimum requirement of most demanding high-end games. We are searching for 3 options here because I'm searching for a Samsung model. The others are selling theirs 300 cedis, so I'll go for the 270 we saw earlier. When it comes to the case appearance, that part is highly dependable on your pocket. But when it comes to the size, you don't have to joke with it. That's why even though our budget is limited, we are not going to go for a small form factor, mini tower, but rather a mid tower. Let's first take a look at what Ben & Partners is selling. Although this one is nice, I'm searching for one which can hold many fans plus to make the RGB very nice on it. Checking from the price history, he first uploaded it with the price of $850, then reduced it to $820, and now increase it to $870 again. If you are interested in it, you can choose this one. The second one from Ivan's post is 1000 Ghana cedis, which is $97. It was first uploaded with the price of 1200 cedis, and now it is 1000. I like this one because it is able to hold many fans, so in the future you can add many upgrades to it and it can deal with the heat very well. To be honest, I like the appearance than the first one. Now let's move to the components which the games are going to rely on more. You already know we are going to go for the RS 580. So let's go back to the market and search. After the search, it seems all the brands here prices are a little bit higher than what I expected. So we are going to search for SFS brand which is budget friendly, as an electronic device can come out from the box with defective parts, same way someone too can sell you a faulty one. So in this case, the amount you are going to buy the component and the relationship you are going to have with the one you are buying it from is the most important thing. So in case there is a problem, you can return it and go for your money or go for a different one. The Sapphire brand Technova is selling is 1650. Although it is negotiable, we are going to go for the SFS which is 1500 and also negotiable. This is because I'm not interested in overclocking the GPU or any tweaking of that sort. Now let's update the list with the 1500 cedis which is $145. Next is the fan which is going to dissipate all the heat from the system. Although the prices of the ones we do not have the function of RGB is better for our budget, we are still going to go for the RGB ones. This is because adding it to the system also serves as decoration to your home. Ben & Partners is also selling 3-in-1 and 5-in-1 for $350. We can call them to confirm whether it's the 3-in-1 which is the $350 or the 5-in-1. So we are going to add it to the list. The $350 converted is $34. I know you are eager for the final price, so we are going to speed up the process. The site about your motherboard is useful in this step again. All the individual components like the graphics card, processor, RAM and the rest which comes together to make the system in it need their specific power to operate. The power supply is responsible for giving the individual component the specific amount of power they require. That is why we are going to use the Cooler Master site to calculate the total power consumption of your system, so that we can buy the best power supply for your system. The processor we are going to use is an Intel Core processor, so you are going to choose Intel and choose the socket and the model. The model refers to the i5-6500 processor. The form factor is the size of your motherboard. Go back to the site and check and come and choose from the list. This part is for the graphics card. We are using AMD Radeon RS 580. So we are going to choose from the list. The quantity is 1 as we are using only one graphics card in the system. This part is for the RAM size and the quantity of RAM sticks you are using in your system. Example is if you are using 2 8GB of sticks which makes it 16GB, then you go to the quantity and choose 2 there. The SSD and HDD part is simple. If you are going to use SSD in your system, you just come and choose the size and the quantity of SSD you are going to use. We are going to use a 256GB of SSD as our system drive. This is because we want our system to be faster and snappier when booting, loading apps and doing other operations on the machine. Swift Hub is selling its own 380. We don't want the video to be too long, so we are going to add it to the list. The 380 is $36. With the hard disk drive, the 7200 RPM is faster than the 5400 RPM. Now, because the hard disk drive is a little bit cheaper than the SSD, we are going to choose a 1TB for our storage. That is where all our files like games, videos and the rest are going to be stored. That is why the 7200 RPM price is a little bit higher than the 5400 RPM. We are interested in a more faster system. That is why we are going to choose the 7200 RPM drive. Hilson Computers is selling theirs 400 CDs, which is $38. So if you are going to use 2 or more hard drives, then you come to the quantity and update that part. The case we chose do not have a CD-ROM part, so this part we are not going to add it to the list. With the modern cases, because there is nowhere for CD-ROM, when the needs come for you to use a CD, you can buy an external CD-ROM which you will plug to your USB port. After done filling the forms, the final recommended PSU wattage is given. Getting this kind of wattage doesn't mean go and buy any cheap 400 watt power supply. If your budget can afford, it is better to go for a 600 or 650 watt power supply so that upgrading in the future don't become a problem. And also, if there is any imbalance in your system, like your graphics card consuming more than it's supposed to. See this example as when I increase the RAM size, the wattage also increases. When I decrease it, the wattage also decreases. Same way, if you upgrade your graphics card or processor for a better one, the wattage too will increase depending on the consumption of the components you are upgrading. So when buying a power supply, the most important thing is to choose for the future, not your current system. The power supply also comes in 3 types. The non-modular system, which has all the connector cables permanently attached to the power supply. The second one is the fully modular, in which all the connector cables can be manually detached. So you can choose to detach any of the cables if not needed. This one has a better cable management, that's why their prices is a little bit higher than the non-modular. And the last one is the semi-modular. With this type, the motherboard and CPU connector cable are permanently attached to the power supply, while the others can be removed. This means only the necessary cables are permanently attached to the power supply. After understanding the types of power supplies, let's go back to the market and search for a Corsair 650 watt power supply. Latkin Tech Sport again selling a non-modular 650, which is $63. Now let's add the 1TB 400 CDs hard disk, which is also $38. The moment you have been waiting for, let's open our calculator and start summing up the prices. Starting from the top of the list, the motherboard, CPU, the CPU cooler which we chose the air type, RAM, the case, graphics card, the computer fan, the SSD and HDD, then the PSU. Now let's add additional 100 CDs to it for the transportation or thermal paste we are going to use to apply on our CPU. This is the final amount of a budget build you can use to play most high-end demanding games, if not on medium, at low settings. So for anyone interested in building a gaming computer at home but has a limited budget, can use the one in the video. To reduce the bottleneck in the future, you can upgrade your board and go for an Intel i5-9400F processor or AMD Ryzen 5 3600. For the perfect explanation of what bottleneck is, watch this video.